Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Lena and today I'm setting up a new playthrough of Apothecaria by Anna Blackwell. I'm just showing off this journal, it's beautiful. I got it off Amazon and I was really not expecting the quality that is present. The paper is really thick, the gilding is absolutely beautiful, and there's just a ton of really nice tiny details in there to make it special. I'm going to go ahead and set up my contents page first. I found this beautiful picture of a dahlia that I'm going to use because my character's name is actually Dahlia. I'm just cutting it out and then mixing and matching it with some of my paper collection. Uh, I like to collect these fun and little funky patterns. I use them a lot in journaling, and craft paper always gets added because it's just so versatile and adds a really cool aesthetic sensibility to it. I also ended up choosing this paint sample, which I was actually given by a pen pal friend of mine. I find pen pals so great for sharing some stuff that you wouldn't necessarily use and then receiving stuff back that you can find really fun ways to incorporate. You can see there that I had a reference image of a dahlia. That's because I was a little bit overly ambitious and thought I would draw one, but overly detailed botanical drawings and perspective and stuff just isn't really something I have a lot of fun with, and this photo ended up working so well anyway that I decided just to go with it. So now that I've set up the design, I'm just sort of going to set up the utilitarian purpose of it using this ruler to set up the delineations for the pages. Because I have page ranges, I wanted to give myself a lot of space to do that and keep it really neat and tidy. I believe that I actually was using a reference photo that I found on Pinterest as inspiration for this contents page, and it just looked really beautiful and elegant, and that's kind of the vibe that I want to emulate with Dahlia's journal. So as I do that, let me tell you a little bit more about Apothecaria. I've been playing it for a while now in a couple of separate different ways, and I just absolutely love it. You play as a young witch who, well, not necessarily young, any age, witch who has recently moved to the town of High Rannoc to serve as the local witch after the last one went missing. And you help patients with ailments, search for reagents, and along the way find out the reason why she went missing in the first place. Now I have quite a few expansions that I'll be incorporating kind of when I see fit, but I'll talk about that more when we get into the actual gameplay. For now, I'm just setting up the lettering for my contents page. I know a lot of people can just kind of go in and write something beautiful, but for me it takes a little bit of practice to write in something that's not my own hand. I like to sketch it in with a pencil before I go in with a liner. That pen that I'm using is, I think, one that I got off of Stationery Pal. I don't even think it has a brand on it, but I find it really great actually. I'm looking at it right now. It just says Marvi Uchida for drawing, and it's in 0.3. But yeah, I find it really, really great to use for details like this, and I actually find that it erases pretty well. Maybe even better than my Stadler pigment liner that I used to ink the painting of Dahlia. Just erasing here, making sure that it looks nice. Added a pop of color with that pen, which is a twin tone from Tombow. I picked this up actually on my local high street. at the local stationery shop, and it's in the color coral pink. And I really like it. It matches really nicely to the paint. Keep wanting to say, paint sample. That's what it's called. So I've moved on to the second and third page, just adding some decoration there with this cool washi tape, and then adding some washi stickers as well, keeping the theme floral and kind of simple just to keep the utilitarian use there, and also not to burn myself out before I get started on the fun stuff. I recently got these floral stickers and I'm really liking them, and that washi tape is actually also from a pen pal, although one I haven't spoken to in a while. I'm bringing back the craft paper as well, putting that on, and then decorating it with that washi tape and the floral sticker. I then go back to the front page and make sure that that washi tape carries over there so the theme remains consistent. Then I go ahead and move on to the profile page where I'll be keeping track of my witch's tools and inventory. And this is where I'm going to use that watercolor portrait that you saw me make in the first video. If you haven't seen that and you're interested to see sort of my process in making that painting, the video is in a playlist and I'll link it below. But yeah, I'm just kind of wanting to go with like a black and white theme to really make it pop out. I'm keeping the page itself kind of simple, just using a black sticky note and the black and white washi tapes. And I thought it would be nice as well to have a little floral detail at the bottom. So I'm just searching this handy sticker book, which I find really useful actually, to look for a good black and white floral, which I do eventually find. I think it really adds a nice bit of detail to the page. Then I'm going to start on the page itself. I wanted to keep it kind of simple to focus on the painting, the portrait, and so I just decided to kind of go in with my own hand, have her inventory, and then the tools that she was going to use. So I just penned those in really simply with that same pen as I mentioned before. It's not exactly even, but I don't need my diaries to be perfect, so I really don't mind. I think about actually boxing it in with the ruler, but then I decide to go ahead and do it freehand to kind of keep it more natural. I actually find as well that I mess up with the ruler more than I do freehand. I often have little starts and stops, or it will kind of slip in ways I don't want to. So now I'm just doing the tools, and for that one I did go to the ruler because I wanted to have two straight lines, just kind of add a little bit of detail there. But actually that's where I leave it for these. Since this is sort of an RPG game, there is progression. Your witch can get tools and has an inventory if she gathers items, or he or they. I'm just writing in the basic tools that you get by starting out, which is a cauldron, an alembic, and a mortar and pestle, which you use to sort of process the ingredients. Now unfortunately my video cut out here, so I didn't get to show you the process of creating the house page as well as the upgrades page. This was originally a photo by another creator of a dollhouse, so I didn't feel too bad tracing over it to ensure that I got my perspective and everything right. And unfortunately I didn't capture a lot of video of it. But so I'm setting up now my witch's introduction into the town, deciding what I want to kind of focus it on and what I want it to look like. I eventually decide these like pinks with this tea. I just got this washi tape set in, so I was really excited to find one that matched, even though it didn't really fit the aesthetic that I was going with, except for this beautiful gold filigree set. So yeah, I'm just gluing those in, putting them in the journal, arranging them in kind of a way that I find pleasing but still gives me a lot of room to write. Apologies for those scratches on my arms, by the way. My cat really loves to play, and she's very polite usually, but sometimes she gets a good one in. So yeah, I'm just putting in that pink, kind of rearranging this washi tape where I want it to go. I decide to move it a little bit later, but it's really pretty. I do love it. I actually have been using it a lot, specifically the gold. It's just absolutely beautiful. Here's me rearranging it, like I said I was going to. I just thought it would look better at the bottom, and I wanted to have something that tied back the pink at the top. So I went ahead and did that, and then used this pink washi tape to kind of border this photo sticker. I originally wrote Spring 1, which is the first week of spring. That's technically when Apothecaria, the game, starts, but I decided to give my witch an introductory week, so I have her actually arriving in winter 12, so you'll see me white that out and replace it with a sticker. And as I kind of work on that, I decided it would be nice if I read you what I wrote. So I will go ahead and cut to me doing that. It was very near to spring when I received the letter. The people of High Rannoc required a witch, as well as someone to investigate what had happened to the previous occupant of the cottage I would now be living in. My voyage was uneventful, and as I traveled, I attempted to familiarize myself with the area, as there would be much foraging in my future. This wouldn't be like the city, where most of my reagents are bought. I would have to find nearly everything, and I would need to know how to brew potions with them. I knew little, but I knew that. When I arrived, the cottage was dusty and very nice, although it seemed to have been cleared out of anything which spoke to the previous occupant, except the journals. I read those before I even cleaned, attempting to learn more about the woman who had written them, who had left them for me. How strange to think that despite that she had no idea of who would take up her post. It was then that there was a knock at the door. I answered to see a well-dressed woman in a pantsuit. "Are you the new witch?" I smiled. "Yes, Dahlia Vale, a pleasure to meet you." She reached out for a handshake, which I took. She shook vigorously. "Samantha Banks, mayor of High Rannoc," she said. "We are so happy to have you here. Since Margie went off, we've had no one. The doctor only comes once a week." I didn't quite know what to say to this. It was much more information than I had expected, and my brain felt quite scrambled after my journey. "Yes, I hope to help," I finally replied. "Thank you for the warm welcome." "Come by town tomorrow, and I'll give you a tour." "That would be nice. Thank you." So that's where I left off on the first page. I decided to go ahead and decorate the second one, where my witch calls for a familiar and gets that promised tour. Now, I'm kind of going to be loose with time. Apothecaria is really loose with time. It's basically measured in timers where you kind of count down the important actions you take that week, and then it's continued on to your downtime actions, which is everything you do that's not helping a patient. I have my big book of stickers, which was a Christmas gift, and I love paging through this. You can see that I've already used quite a lot of them in my other journals and other pen paling work. I find it so useful. I decided to carry on the pink theme, but but make it a little bit more whimsical and add a little bit of my own personal journaling style in there, which is a lot of collaging, which sometimes doesn't leave a lot of space for writing. Apologies that the camera cuts some of the writing. I think this is adjusted, but again, I'll read what I'm writing in a time lapse as I did in. I do a little bit more adjustment before I write, so I wrote this opening bit and then decided to draw cards for what familiar I got. So this is a feature in Apothecaria. You can either decide your familiar or you can draw for them. And then you always draw for the kind of bonus that they give you. So here I'm using this beautiful tulip deck by, I think it's by Zhang, that I bought for this witch specifically to draw some cards for my witch's familiar. And I get a 4 and a 2, which means that it is a canid, so a wolf, a dog, or a fox, and that it gives me a +1 on ailment timers. So now I'll go ahead and read you what I wrote for my second entry. Before it became too late, I decided to call for a familiar to aid me in my work. I went out to the garden plot. Already it was where I was most comfortable. I laid out my items, lit the candle, and closed my eyes. I called out with my magic, and suddenly I was seeing through the eyes of another creature. The forest surrounded me, and I moved towards a smell, familiar yet new, guiding the creature towards me. When I opened my eyes, there was a fox in front of me. It only had one eye, but the other was bright and full of life. "Are you my familiar?" I asked, feeling strangely formal and nearly unlike myself. The fox let out a bark, spun in a circle before settling in my lap. I couldn't help but smile. So then I decided to go ahead and draw a portrait of Lupin, my one-eyed fox familiar. I'm not really comfortable drawing animals, but again, it's not important that this journal is perfect. It's important that it kind of marks my progress and I have fun doing it. I definitely did have fun doing this. So I'll go ahead now and start reading the second half of what I wrote. The next day, I went to the town to be shown around and meet some of the people I'll be treating if they fall ill. I met Samantha at the town hall, and Lupin was trailing after me. I introduced him, and Samantha seemed enthusiastic, but it seemed like she was mostly pleased that it was witchy to have a familiar at all. I tried not to take it to heart, but it did strike me as odd. I met some of the villagers, the owner of the local tavern, the Copper Fox. Samantha thought it was quite a funny coincidence, the general store owner, as well as the groundskeeper at the Lunar Tower. There were other shops and stalls I was interested in, but Samantha kept saying we didn't have time. I suppose I'll have all spring to familiarize myself. When I returned home, I got to cleaning to prepare to take my first customers. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaving winter, and the next page I'll start spring and start the game itself. But before I finish this off, I wanted to add some color to Lupin. After all, there's not really a fox without its signature colors. And now I'm doing kind of a quick page through of the entries I set up. Thought they were really nice, and I'm really actually pleased with how this turned out. Join me again soon for part 3 of my journey into Apothecaria, where we'll treat our first patient. Thank you so much for joining me on our first real video setting up this journal. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And if you liked the video, please press the like button. I'd really appreciate it. I'm always willing to hear your comments, so if you have any thoughts, please let me know. Thanks again. Bye.